Hi guys, it's Becky, and apparently once I get started, I cannot be stopped. And just once, I would like to be able to harness this power for cleaning my house, but alas, here we are. Anyway, I was going to try to space these out a little bit more, especially like the first week, but I was super inspired by a tutorial by Oksana at Oksana Crafts to make this super cute cherry pendant. And I will link to the tutorial that I followed to make this in the description below, so that if you want to make this too, you can. And if you don't follow Oksana, I highly suggest doing so because she's got really great wire working tutorials. And they're really easy to follow. You can see I made this just fine. As far as my bead, in her tutorial, she uses a bead that has a hole drilled down the middle, or from top to bottom. And so if you have a leaf bead that's drilled that way, follow her tutorial like that. If you have one that's drilled side to side like this, I just made a little triangle with it and then followed the rest of the tutorial for exactly what she did with this. So I have my little cherry and I'm going to make a necklace with it. And it's going to be a beaded chain necklace. Now, these red beads are ones that I pulled out of the latest Curated Bead box. It's the, I forget the name, it's fall something, autumn something. I'll put a link to my unboxing so you can see what else came in it with that. But I'm using these red beads for some of the links. And I've got multi-bead links that are wrapped loops. And I've got single bead links that are simple loops. And let me pull out the beads that I've got for those. For the single bead link, I'm using these green/red ones that look like Honeycrisp apples or maybe Fuji's or something. They look like they're the ones that are partially green and red. They look like apples to me. So I'm using those. And then I'm using the same red beads that I used for my pendant. And a couple of the bead caps that came in this kit. Like basically everything except for this and the wire came in this kit. And then we have these crackle glass beads that are like green and red and just really pretty. And that's what's in between each of these bead caps in this link. And so that's what I've made there. I'm making 10 total multi-bead links with the wrapped loops and 8 total of these, I'm calling these apple beads, apple bead links with the simple loops. And I've got my pendant here ready to make this with it. Let me go over the tools that I'm using for wire working. I've got some flush cutters. I've got some round nose pliers. I like to use the round nose pliers when I'm doing my simple loops. And I've got some 6-step bail making pliers. I like to use these when I do my wrapped loops. It's just a preference. You can do either with either of these, I promise. I did actually use this when I was following Oksana's tutorial. I used this 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth step down in my 6-step bail making pliers for my bail here. And then I've got some tweezer nose pliers. I like the sharp bend that I get with them. Chain nose pliers will work just as well. All right, so for putting everything together, I have just a couple of findings. I have an open jump ring that is twisted wire because I thought this twisted wire would look good stylistically with the twisted wire of this. And that's going to be attaching this to my chain. So we'll put that together when we get to it. And then I've got a toggle clasp for my closure. And I think this was a toggle clasp that came in the Howdy kit from Jesse James Beads. It might actually be something that I replaced though, because this doesn't seem like a very secure toggle. I don't know if that's going to stay closed. We'll see how it does. But I'm just going to be using some 5mm jump rings to attach that. So I've already finished one length of my chain, and I've made most of my links for the other half of my chain. So let me show you how I've made these links. For my simple loop links, make sure the end is flush. Let me get a little closer and move these out of the way so that we are not distracting the camera. Right, so you make sure it's flush. And like I said, it's a preference thing. I prefer using my round nose pliers, and you can kind of see where my favorite part to do this in. It's kind of worn away a little bit. You just grab it near the end, bend it around until it's touching the end there, and then while it's still on here, I'll just rotate my pliers while they're open till this bottom part is up against here, and just give it a little push in order to make my little bend. And that's what I do for my simple loops. They work well enough for me. And I put my bead on here, and for this I'm going to bend the wire, and I'm going to use my pliers for it because it's just going to work better for me that way. I can use my fingers to measure about 1 centimeter away from there, away from the bend, and then grab my round nose pliers again. Do this, and I'm doing 2 different links so that I don't have to use jump rings, or I don't have to remember to, this actually should probably be a little bit bigger, so that I don't have to remember to link it before I wrap my loops on my wrapped links. I can just wrap them and close them, because if you've been here for a hot minute, you know that I will forget to attach it. I do it all the time. And so that was with 20 gauge wire, by the way. I forgot to tell you what gauge wire I was using. For my wrapped links, I'm using 22 gauge wire. So let me give this one a little bend back. And for this, I like to use the 6-step bail making pliers because it gives me consistency and size with my wrapped links. Just bend it around there, rotate that. You want to open it when you rotate it, by the way, because otherwise you're just going to mess up your loop. Just pushing with my finger to wrap it around a few times. Cut off my excess. Got a little jaggedy part. Just gonna tuck this. Oh, that's why it wasn't working so well. That was my round nose pliers. There we go. Tweezer, something flat works so much better than round nose pliers for tucking that end. All right, and then we're going to stack our beads onto our link. I'm starting with my red bead, and then the bead caps. And I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I will just be like in auto mode and I won't be paying attention. And when I was making some of these earlier, I put the bead cap through one of these other holes instead of through the center hole. It's the center hole, guys. Put it through the center hole. That way you won't have to take apart your bead afterwards because it's all wonky. It will actually sit right on your bead. So I've got my crackle glass bead with the red and green in here. Then I'm going to put on my bead cap facing it, and the bead caps are put on in such a direction that they're cupping this crackle glass bead. And then the red bead on the end. And now I can prepare to do my second wrap. So for that, you're going to grasp the wire and bend over the top of it so that you have room here for wrapping when you do your loop. Grab my 6-step bead making pliers, pull this guy around to the front, continue around here, and I can just wrap around. I feel like my wrapping is always a little more awkward when I'm on camera than it is by myself. Does anyone else who films their stuff get that way? All right. And this is why I used simple loops for these guys. It's so that I can open my simple loop on one end and attach my next link, and then turn around and open this loop on the other end and attach my next link, and it makes it pretty quick and pretty easy to build out my chain. I don't always get around to making things with the Curated Bead box. It's a great stash builder. But sometimes I'm like, okay, what do I do with all of these round beads? But again, I was real inspired by Oksana and this super cute cherry thing. And I knew I had just the beads for this. It's like cherries and apples, so it's like a fall harvest. That's what this necklace looks like to me. Maybe it's Christmas colors to you. One of the things I noticed when I opened it was that it felt like Christmas a little bit with some of the, like the green and gold and the red. But it could also feel like fall with the yellows and the oranges too. So maybe it is fall harvest. Autumn foliage, is that the name of the box? I don't know. I'll find out. Well, it'll be in the description. And probably in the title. All right, I'm gonna zoom back out so that you can see what I'm doing for putting the rest of this together. So now I've got two ends of my beaded necklace. I'm gonna grab this jump ring. It's a twisted wire jump ring. This is an 8mm twisted wire jump ring. Yeah, I'm gonna find where it's open. I'm just gonna open this. And I'm going to string on one end of my necklace, my focal, and the other end of my necklace. Now I'm going to need to close this. Let's make sure we're good and closed. Okay. This way, my focal can hang from my beaded chain like that. Now let's get our jump rings out and attach our closure. y'all, I looked high and low for a toggle clasp that was the right color of gold to go with this. Everything else that I have is like super orange or very yellow, which, you know, might work, especially since it'll be in the back of your neck. And I might switch it out for that if this will not stay closed, because I'm not sure it will. Hold on. These are oval jump rings. I need to just open that a little bit more. So let's get one end on, and whoop, our loop. Now I could have probably made a toggle clasp with some of my craft wire. I've done that before. I am capable of doing that, but I didn't really feel like it today because, y'all, I'm tired. My air conditioning went out. I had to get a new battery, but the battery doesn't fit my car after they shipped it to me, so I gotta drive over there after getting a jump on my old battery to exchange the new battery for one that'll fit my car. And it's been an adventure. There's so much. This is probably why I'm so focused on this, is because I don't want to have to deal with any of that other stuff. So I'm just making some jewelry. We're just gonna make jewelry through it. Just crafting through it. Bead it out. That's what Sarah said or was it yesterday? 2 days ago? Just bead it out. All right. So there we have my second of the month. It's only the 2nd of September, I guess, but it is the second beaded chain necklace that I have made this month. So now I guess I can take off a few days and not worry about this, although I'll probably still be making some more stuff. It was at least 2, not only 2. I can make more if I want. I made up this challenge. I can do what I want. Anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying this. Let me know if you've been making anything, what you're excited about making, and I will see you for the next one. Thanks. Bye.